is far past 4:30. Thank you for the water. I'd like to open up Teaching and Learning Committee, Agenda Review and Disposition.
I have nothing to add or take off.
Okay. And if there are no additions to the minutes, yes.
I wasn't up here, but just the, it says I was present when these drawings.
Oh, okay. Anything else?
You were Randy.
And Barbara noted that she is on this committee as well, and that was not on there, so Janet will take care of that. And if there are no other changes, I'd like to, can I just say that these will be approved as written if there are no changes? I'm just asking the
Roger? What was the question?
This is just a committee, so we can't.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's approved them as written, right?
It's a committee structure, so you
Yeah.
can make a motion in a second and accept them, but only members of your committee may
Right.
talk or speak or do anything about that.
Okay.
The rest of us are here if there's a privilege.
Just to observe.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. New course proposal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have brought forth the paper I just passed out to you. I don't know if you got it in your package, you probably. No, you didn't. So if you could take a couple of minutes to peruse that. I've also asked Kyle Reed, our tech ed, one of the tech ed teachers in the department, that you know is drafting. It's a CTC program, one of the areas that we renovated, very popular program. That's with drafting, CAD, a number of, a lot of computer programming too. We always compare it to with a piece of engineering in our STEM program. I've asked the teachers, I've asked a couple of times to create some other offerings down there that we could offer. And Kyle and Jay have put some time and effort in this. I've asked Kyle to come and present this new course proposal and what it would look like. Kyle?
Thank you all for letting me speak tonight. So the course that we're proposing is called Product Design Technology. It's a half-year course. It would run in conjunction with our third level class called CAD 120. Typically, how the courses work, the bottom course is called Intro to Drafting, which is a year-long course. And then students typically take mechanical and architectural design. And then students have a choice after architectural design to take CAD 120, which is a running start course, which focuses more on the architectural side of design. And this course is going in the avenue of mechanical design, mechanical engineering, essentially. So the idea behind the course is I want students, and I had a student last year that this is the reason why I came up with this course is, wasn't sure, last year or the year before, he said, I have this part that I want to make for weightlifting. And it's for deadlifting, so you can put the bar up on it and take the weights off. And he said, I really want to design it, but I want to make it better. And I said, that's perfect. That's the course that I want. So the Product Design Technology course is the idea of we have a product, whatever that product may be, but how do we make it better? Right? So the kids will be taking a product, whatever it may be, and making it better to suit the needs of the client. That could be me, or that could be an outside person. They would be using CAD, which is an automated 2D or 3D program. They also would use a program called Inventor, which is a mechanical 3D program. And then we have a 3D printer that they'd be using. And then they actually could make a working model of it as well. So.
Anybody have questions for Kyle? Peter?
Do we have all the equipment now, to do the class?
Yes, we have the software. We have the 3D printers. There are some other tools that we could use that would make it better, but to run the course right now, we have everything that we can
You
do.
have a laser and engraver and cutter?
That's the next tool that would be helpful.
That piece, we may be able to run to Peter through Perkins. I could, because since they're a vocational course on that piece, I would have, they would probably make that proposal to Randy, and we'd get that piece paid for by them.
Do you need a motion to take this to the board?
Yes, I do, Madam Chair.
Would someone make that motion?
I make a motion to take this this proposal to the board.
Okay, for a new product design technology course. Thank you. Second?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. And Roger, we don't need to vote on whether to, like, have everybody vote on taking it to the board, right? We vote at the board.
You want to, yeah, you just want to,
You just want to complete.
yeah. So,
Okay, so of the committee members who are here today, all in favor?
there you go.
right.
Yeah.
Opposed? Okay.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank
You're
you.
good to
Thank
go.
you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you, guys, appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, proposed administrative structure?
Yeah, so, Bruce and I have been talking a little bit about just the administrative roles and responsibilities at the high school. I don't have anything to pass out. One of the pieces that came up in August, I received a letter from the Department of Education in regards to having a CTE director for the high school. That is their only responsibility. So I am proposing that we remove the title of assistant principal / CTE director to solely CTE director for the 21-22 year. It is a requirement from the Department of Ed, so that is the corrective action plan to move that into that position. Any questions on that? That has been a requirement for a long time.
Is there any special certification designation needed for this position?
CTE director certification,
Do we currently have anyone on staff that has that?
yes. Working towards that at this
all right,
point.
working to- okay.
We will have that. So that's the first position, and we're looking to fill that with what we have currently, so it would just be a title change. The other piece would be to eliminate the position of Director of Safety and Operations and to make that position assistant to the principal. It's just more conducive to what's going on right now, as far as we have a resource officer that helps us with some of the safety and operations, and really what the Director of Safety and Operations is doing right now is much larger than safety and operations. It's assisting anything, do you want to go over some of the responsibilities now as far as?
All the emergency management procedures that have to be, taking care of the payroll, the weekly payroll alone, making sure the classes are covered. That's a full-time job in itself. Obviously, with the pandemic that's taken on, he's become the expert within the school, the high school, on that piece. He's done a number of job responsibilities with scheduling with Mr. Price on that piece.
On assessment.
On assessment, with SATs, on scheduling, setting up, proctoring on that piece. It is a laundry list of activities. If you recall, a long time ago, when Bob was moving up, Bob held that position before he became the assistant principal. He was the assistant to the principal for a number of years, and so a lot of those roles are filled. As we moved into it, Todd's load has increased big time, and we felt with the addition of the resource officer coming, this was the appropriate title for the position that Todd is doing. Along with, he carries a big load too, discipline-wise too. Todd covers all the teacher duties, all the paraprofessional duties, and the responsibilities that go along with that too. That's all falls under my realm.
Bill?
Budgetary impact and length of contract, does it stay the same?
Yes, it's just merely a title change.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Same thing on Randy too, just the title change.
Yeah. Is there a certification now required for assistant principal?
So he would be assistant to the principal, which I think, Bob, you used to hold that position as well years ago?
2001 to 2004.
Yeah,
Assistant to the principal.
yeah.
Not assistant principal.
No,
Not-
assistant to the principal.
Oh,
What's the difference, so that we can lay that out and understand what we're talking about, the difference with the two positions?
Assistant principal would be totally a management piece on discipline, attendance.
Evaluation.
Evaluations, correct, thank you. Assistant to the principal would not be doing evaluation. It's not a certifiable position in that, okay?
Okay,
It's middle management.
Yeah. It's more operations.
okay.
I think that's the big piece, the day-to-day stuff.
Any other questions? And do you need our approval from us?
Yeah, and you're gonna,
I move that we approve the proposed position of assistant to the principal
Okay. Do we need to take that to the full board? Okay.
and move it forward to the
To
full
move it
board.
forward to the board. And the other position, the CTE director one, should we
Yep.
do it together or separately? Doesn't matter.
separately, if
Okay.
possible.
All right, so second to Phil's, okay, Walter? All in favor on our committee? Okay. Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And do I hear a motion to change the CTE director and create that as a sole responsibility and remove the assistant principal from that
Title.
title? Do I make a motion on that?
Oh, we did, so.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Oh, I thought you did the assistant to the principal one.
Because I thought before when we were talking about, I thought we were, no, we didn't. Yeah.
Okay, I don't remember, sorry. Okay, and Phil's gonna second that, right? Okay, all in favor? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And then it looks like we just have non-public session.
I don't have anything for non-public session.
Okay, next meeting is November 17th,
Yep.
and that's
This is what-
it. Do I hear a motion to come out of teaching and learning?
I'd like to call the School Operations Committee meeting to order. Agenda review and disposition. Just a quick update, we do need to add Bonnie and Christy back to the list of current members on the bottom of the agenda for future agendas. Any other changes to the agenda?
No.
Okay. Approval of the minutes from September 15th.
Make a motion.
You have a motion to approve, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Sam. Members of the committee, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Now we'll go to pesticide use on the fields with John Francis, and I believe we have Larry Gibson from Park and Rec as well.
So just a little background here is to why we put on the pesticides. We had received an email last month in regards to what we were using as far as pesticides and how that happens. So as you know, there's a partnership with Parks and Rec that dates back a long way. I think the last MOU we found was 1970 something, Lisa?
Yeah.
So, yeah, so we'll be looking at that again and moving towards that piece. But there was a warrant article that was passed in the town, and I think at the last board meeting, we had one of the selectmen come and say that it was not a valid warrant article, but the will of the people, if you can consider the will of the people and move off of harmful pesticides and more towards something a little bit safer. So it's something I'm gonna have John talk to you about this more than me. It is not my expertise, but he can talk to you about a little bit about the history. Same with Larry as far as how it's been done, the history of it, and maybe what the board may want to consider moving forward.
So the first question that, comes to mind is, okay, if we're using pesticides, why? what is it that we're trying to eliminate? So, you know, talking with Jimmy and Larry, two main creatures that we're after are grubs and solid webworms. Those are the most prevalent creatures that we have that will really raise Cain on our fields. So the next piece came in, what are we using now? And what can we go to that's a little more friendly to the environment, but will still do the job that we needed to do. So my recommendation is a product called Acceliprin. It does not mess with bees as far as them being able to continue on with their life, or butterflies, or earthworms, that kind of thing. And it is really not even harmful to humans either. It would get, the way that we apply it is minimal. It's once a year, and even then, that's as needed. Most years, grubs can almost be an every other year thing for us, but the one thing that stands strong against us is the solid webworms. And a lot of the grub activity and the solid webworms, that activity we have, is because we're just spraying the playing fields. As soon as you get off of the playing fields and outside those lines, they're living there. So it's always like they're always knocking on our door. And the reason that, again, that we don't spray out further is, again, trying to minimize anything we are doing and minimize any impact to the environment, keeping that to a minimum. And we've been fairly successful. Our fields are in good shape. We moved, Jimmy has a license to apply pesticides, but I think last year we moved to the private sector with that, try to keep us more in line with kind of what we're doing on the inside of the building. We run what we call an IPM, which is an integrated pest management system. So we're kind of roll into that area just for better documentation and knowing what it is that we're doing, when we're doing it, why we're doing it. The other component that we use is more of an herbicide, and that is obviously for weeds. And the one I recommend that is the least harmful to the environment is the, I hope I can say it right, quinaclorac. Speed zone was an option, but when you read about speed zone, I'm not comfortable going there. And I think the will of the people is not to be there. I think we go more along with the quinaclorac. That is easier on the environment. Again, it's the applications of when you do it and how you do it are critical. And this is one of the reasons that we're getting involved with an outside source. So when we do our pesticide and our herbicide sprays, is pretty much after the sports are done and the fields are quiet, really people are not using those fields anymore. And then and both those are applied at the same time, so that we're only affecting the times that people should be on those fields when they're not in use. That's my recommendation to you guys. You know, as far as speaking of, you know, fully organic type product, as of yet, I haven't found anybody that's gone fully organic and been successful in maintaining the fields the way you guys expect these fields to look. So, you know, if that's a wish from you guys to look at that even further and dig deeper, we can do that. I mean, we have, you know, Larry and I talked today about UNH and their agricultural department and possibly having somebody come up and talk to us about it. A lot of our neighbors are doing pretty much what we're doing. So they've been kind of following us. So that's where I'm at with our outside grounds as far as pesticides and herbicides on our fields.
John, can you talk about the cost difference?
Yes, important.
That was going to be my question.
Very important. As with anything, when you head in the direction that we really want to go, the expense is upwards of 4 times more than what we were spending. What we were spending was, probably not environmentally friendly, but it was fairly cheap. And now we're going into something that's a lot more expensive. So you're going to see that line in the 2630 line when it comes to that outside component, that you're going to see that line when we start doing budgets that will increase dramatically, depending on if that's what you guys decide the direction you want to go. So I'll carry the number along until you guys want to go in that direction or not. So if there's more information that you guys want us to pursue, just ask us and we'll try to get that information back to you.
Lisa has a question?
The direction we went inside the building, did that incur a cost? I mean, an increase?
It did, because it was minimal what we were doing.
Okay.
So it became also part of the DOE, one of the new rules that, you have an integrated pest management system that, before it was easy to start pushing out stuff that, you're not a chemist, you need to know what you're putting out, what the harms could be to staff and students. So that's why we brought in professionals who know exactly what they're doing, when it should be done, how much it should be done, and where. So.
Sam?
I had a question. 4 times, what's the base number? Is it 4 times $500?
I want to say
4
it was
times a lot more?
around 6,000, so we're going to be somewhere in that 24 to 30,000.
Peter, you have a question? Good.
Would the chair entertain questions?
I can entertain a question from the floor. Yes, Phil. Thank you.
What problem were we trying to fix, or what caused us to focus on this issue?
Well, let me give you some history. About a year ago, June, we had sprayed the town common, and a citizen saw the sign that was posted there, the yellow sign that we have to post for 48 hours. They took a picture of it. They were concerned about the chemicals that were being used. From that point, it went to the Board of Selectmen. Jim Blake and myself were called to a selectmen's meeting to explain what we did. We use a certified company that we use it for the town hall, the town common, and Riverfront Park. From that point, after we met with the selectmen, the group of individuals grew in size, so they came to one of our commission meetings. And at that point, it was determined by the commission that we would not spray chemicals anymore, that we would basically try to go organic. For the 3 sites that I mentioned, normally the price was around $900, and then it jumped. If we would go full organic on the program, it would go to $5,000. So we decided, no decision was made other than stop spraying. Let's talk about this. Well, months passed, and then in June of this year, the maintenance crew sprayed the fields. Somebody saw it on Facebook, and last month, this occurred 4 months ago, last month I had to go in front of the board again and explain what happened. And I missed a phase. In March, there was a petition warrant article stating that the town would not use any more chemicals, that we would strictly go organic. Now the question was, does that include the school? So a decision wasn't made until after we sprayed, and then a complaint came in, and then it went to the board again, and then I think that's when Kyla got the email from the Board of Selectmen stating, hey, your fields were sprayed, should we have sprayed them, should we have not? So the legalities kicked in, and then it came up to where the petition warrant article was void. It was not certified, if that's the term we want to use. So the question today is, where do we move forward? This was the history of how we got to this point. But the question is, if you go full organic, then I think we need to bring somebody in and explain the program to us. And my understanding, there's a 5-year transition period in becoming totally organic, getting the fields to where they should be, pH levels, things like that. So that's the history of where we stand. So, and then John and I met today with Jim, or John met with Jim last week. So, you know, the question in cost is, we're looking at if we only spray when needed, or do you want to go full transition into the organic program on all the fields and all the grounds? So,
And I don't know what that cost is.
No.
I don't know what the success rate is. I mean, you could spend a lot of money and not have any success, but I do not know that yet.
So your proposal is somewhere in the middle.
In the
It's
middle.
not completely
Right.
organic. It's better than what we were doing. It's somewhere in the middle.
I did pull a product overview just to some highlights on this Acceloprint. It provides excellent all season long for crop control on a single application. The other key features: season-long control, every key terpene damaging white species, season-long control with caterpillars including blackworms, sodwebworms, fall armyworms, excellent bill bug, flexibility to allow rainfall to move the product into the soil or irrigate application, which we would do either. And one of the key things for us, again, is there's no known adverse effects on beneficial non-target organisms, including earthworms and honeybees. Well, I think, you know, that's key to what we're trying to do, is not hurt other species in the environment, just going after the pieces and the ones that we want. It's registered under the EPA, is underneath the reduced risk program. And that's alluding to the Acceloprint is not anywhere near as harmful as what we were using before. It's in a low risk program. All the other highlights. Yeah, EPA reduced risk program. A reduced risk pesticide is defined as one which may reasonably be expected to accomplish one or more of the following: reduces pesticide risk to human health, reduces pesticide risk to non-target organisms, and reduces the potential for contamination of valued environmental resources. So again, that's what I'm trying to shift into something that we know will be effective, but yet, or jump into the unknown, as you do with organics. I mean, green cleaning it's the same thing. You know, it's a balance of the products that you're using, and that will work and hit both worlds is ideal.
We'll do Sam and then Christie.
I have a couple of questions, actually. So thank you, Lord, that background was very helpful, and I remember this, like, and man coming last time to speak to it, and I heard will of the people. Now that's will of the Plymouth people. This is a 7-town board. I'm not sure that you can say the will of the Plymouth people is the will of the Holderness or Campton or Thornton, etc. That's one issue to consider. And the second follow-up to that was, I didn't get it just though. So I get the sense that this is what the Plymouth Select Board or the Plymouth Town wants. Are they offering to pay for it? Are we expected to pay for it as a school board? Or has there been an offer said that if you do this because this is what we want, we'll pay the difference?
No? I'm not
There hasn't been an offer?
No.
Okay, so that's something to consider, obviously. If one town is coming and saying this is what we want done, well, are you going to pay for it or are you going to pay for it? Just something that we should consider, because again, this is a regional school district.
Yeah.
Christie?
I was just going to ask if you had spoken with anyone that had used the product that you were just talking about, and if they had, like,
So
here in New Hampshire, they had good experience with it.
Yeah, so the vendor that we were using, it's the primary thing that he uses throughout the state.
Okay,
And like I was saying before, our neighbors are using them.
okay, so I missed that, sorry, thank you.
Yep.
Barbara, I'll let you ask a question.
Yeah, I'm not a part of this committee.
Right.
So I want to be absolutely clear about the increase in cost. You say it's like 5 times more approximately. So is that the initial purchase cost, but do we use it longer so it equates almost to where we were?
It would be an annual cost
Okay.
if we were needing to spray again the following year. I mean, we spray when we need to spray. If there's not an issue with grubs or the webworms, then we're not going to spray. If there is,
But
then we will.
each time we would incur that increase.
Yes.
Go ahead, Peter.
To piggyback what Sam said, is there somebody we could ask at Plymouth to see if they're willing to compensate us for the difference? Would it be the Board of Selectmen or
I see. Never heard anybody to ask. I mean, we can, I guess it would be through the selectmen. I don't know who else.
I would say yes.
Why not? They want us to use it. They should be stepping up to the plate. I mean, even though we're a 7-district board, the property is actually in Plymouth.
Lisa?
Larry, I was under the impression that the Plymouth Select Board did not approve this amendment. That this was a group of, it was Joyce Weston and our state reps, and it came through via that way with a group of people that signed, but the Select Board, I don't think they endorsed the article. But
No,
then-
that's correct. They did not endorse the article at the town meeting, but this was presented as a written warrant article, which passed by the body. But then then they hired the town attorney to look into it. And then it was decided that it was not a legal warrant document, a warrant. So, again, I don't know all the legalities of it, but,
And then they were kind of in the middle of enforcing it, because then they had people complain, and then the state rep said you have to enforce this, and that's how it kind of...
And I certainly, I mean, I understand, I certainly support it for the town properties that we maintain, but I think the schools are entirely different, and you're correct. It is 7 districts or 6 other districts that have to pitch in. It's not just, I mean, Plymouth is one entity of it, but, you know, and again, the question about the price, that's just if we do a yearly, if you endorse the full organic program, then you're talking a lot more money. And is it necessary? And the fact too, that we don't want to be, our hands don't want to be tied if what John talked about doesn't work, then we have to use other chemicals to kill the source that we have, and then are we in violation with what we agree upon, you know, so. And again, all the contractors that we use are certified by the state. You know,
And they follow all the regulations
follow
that the
all the
state has in place
regulations.
already.
If they did not, they would lose their license, so. But I'm in favor of it. I mean, I'm in favor of trying anything. But it is a financial burden. It is a financial cost. And who supports that?
And I just had a follow-up, the state representatives, they're Suzanne Smith and Joyce Weston, are extensively involved in legislation with this, with our government. I think they might visit us at some point, I got that impression. And so I think there's a few issues. It's yes, the environment, but what is it doing to our kids and dogs? And, you know, I think those are 2 more issues that they have, just to inform people. That's what I've heard, right, Larry? I think that's...
Well, that was part of it. It was just people walking on the grass and taking it into their house and things like that.
But I believe that's why you get the signage. Is, you know, with what we were using before, it was important that you stayed off the fields.
And when do you typically spray? When we're not in session?
When we're not in session.
Not in session, weather related, you know, if a storm's coming in, because that helps too.
Like I said, timing is everything with what we're doing. So, and, you know, we've always been very cordial with what we're doing, and only doing it if we absolutely needed to. So,
Go ahead.
How long have we currently been using what we have? How long have we been using it?
the components before this one,
Yeah, the non-organic one.
yeah, that's probably quite a while, like, long time. I don't even have a date.
No, yeah, I'd say within 3 to 7 years.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there, so.
So it sounds like there's a lot of conversation and discussion to have around this. Should we hold this in committee and discuss it during the committee meetings, or would we like to expand this to the full board at that point? I think we need to have more information, specifically because it's going to require such a huge budget impact that this actually might be one of those things we create a crafty warrant article for. And I don't know how the high school does warrant articles, but this might be something, because it's going to all of the supporting towns, it might be something we want to do there. So we'd like to just keep that in the conversation in the committee at this point, is what I'm asking. Make a motion to table it. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Sam. Any other discussion for tabling it? All those on the committee in favor of tabling this until our next meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. This is now tabled for our next meeting. If we can get some numbers and some other impacts of what we might think of, that would be great.
Okay.
John, you're up again. Capital improvement plans?
You mean the CIP?
Yeah.
Okay.
So John is presenting you with a long-term capital improvement plan, just so you have an overview of what the facilities needs are over the next several years. So he will just briefly, right, go over, review.
5 minutes?
This one may also want to be tabled for continuous meetings, but I just wanted you to get a look at the concept as far as the needs of the building. So John, I'll let you speak.
All right. So I'd like to start out, these are documents that have been created for all our districts. Again, beginning to look at long-term costs, so you begin to watch what's coming down the pipe, so you can almost know 6 years from now we can expect this, 5 years from now we can start expecting these components that'll be up for repair. I'd like to look at the most immediate year, which is the 21-22 school year, which will be the budget that we'll be working on in the coming months. So if you look, you'll see sewer line estimate at 50 and then a dishwasher. Those sewer lines jump to the head of the scale because in our 74 wing, we're having a lot of issues. And we did run a camera down the 74 wing, and the bottom of the drain pipes, they're gone. So we had them scheduled, but because of the COVID issue, we shut the building down, and I had to cancel my vendor coming in to camera the rest of our sewer lines. So they'll be here on the 11th of November. And then once I have that, then I'll have the footage that I need to read, and the amount of footage that we need to reline the pipes. I'll have a more accurate number to reline those pipes at the bottoms that have gone out. So, and the next piece is part of our technology infrastructure, the pieces that fall underneath my responsibility. And previous years, we've had this 5-year tech plan. You'll see the numbers spread out over 5 years and what's expected in the coming years. But for this coming year, in that technology budget, all our wireless APs are at end of life. They're at 5 years old, so we'll be replacing those as well as a lot of the switches. And then I've got some server work to do, classroom technology, which can be projectors. In the classroom projectors, it can be whiteboards. It could be a TopCat for enhanced teacher amplification, which covers 3 zones, teacher amplification, sound for a video or movie that they may be showing, and it also ties to our cochlear implant students that are in special needs, so if they move around from class to class, plug into the device in the classroom and they're up and running. So, and that was something we saw coming several years ago, so we've been slowly implementing these every year. So that totals, you look at that technology budget for next year is at 184. And out of that 184, we'll be applying for an E-rate grant. It's money that we have accessible to us. They give it to us, I think it runs every 5 years now. We really didn't do anything with it last year because we were anticipating the large expense this coming year, knowing that we had the APs coming. And I didn't want to use any of that money because once you use it, then it's gone. That could cover up to 60% of this load. So we'll
Of
be
the infrastructure,
of the
technology,
yes,
yeah.
of this 184, and we'll be applying for that. We start on it next month. I think the application has to be in by January. If you jump out to the following year, we're looking at bathrooms and locker rooms. Again, it doesn't seem possible, but it's been, those bathrooms were done in 1999. So we're approaching a little over 20 years of those areas being used, and that's an area that gets used hard. So the other one is elevator. Again, that's going to be a 20-year mark in here. And then you get down into the technology line, and under the networking and whatnot, you're looking at 248. That's for a potential new security camera system in the high school section, not the CTC section. The CTC section we've done. This is the rest of the high school. I think it totals 72 cameras in the building. So that is upgrading that. And the biggest cost in that is the DVR, the recorder. It's massive. It's in it's like probably 200 terabyte. It's huge in order to maintain and record the movements that we have in the building, because we basically record movements, not a still shot, just movements. So when it sees movement, the camera sees movement, it starts the recording. It jumps 5 to 10 seconds ahead, or excuse me. So somebody were to walk into the room, if it didn't start recording it, you'd already see them in the room. This pushes it back so that you see them walking into a room or walking into the building. But it's done on motion. That way there we can help. It helps us without recording too much information, and it's easier for us when we're looking at something at an event. You can see the movement in the event, so that we're not looking at 8 hours of film. We're just looking at perhaps maybe an hour or the 10 minutes that we needed to see. So that's what's coming 2 years out. 3 years out, 23, 24, I think we'll be looking at parking lot drainage and parking and paving these parking lots. Again, these parking lots, other than the minimal Band-Aids that we've been doing, are 1969, and the infrastructure is literally just about shot. And so we've been continuing to Band-Aid. We've been Band-Aiding for multiple years. Again, because of the large expense. Technology budget, again, you can see those numbers. There's another 5-page document I have that supports those numbers. It breaks them down as to exactly what they are. So if anybody has questions on exactly what makes up these numbers, I have another document that shows you. And just, again, we continue out throughout the years on the other components that we have in the building that are coming due. Another big one is HVAC. A lot of the HVAC equipment, it's going to be, by the time we get there, it's going to be 25 plus years old, and some of my HVAC equipment is 1969, but we've been rebuilding and keeping them together. But what I've noticed on our last rebuild of some of the older units, which is shaft and bearings, motors, is a lot of the framework. We had to do a lot of welding, a lot of framework that holds that 3-inch shaft and holds those bearings. So it's getting really tight. I bought us some time with what I've done the past 2 years, but this is something we definitely need to be really thinking about in the future. And a lot of the stuff that was done in 99 is end of life. It has a 20-year life, and it's time to begin to replace that equipment. So, and we're noticing repairs are climbing. So we're getting into that zone where it's costing, it would be much smarter to put our money and invest in new equipment than continue to repair our existing equipment. So none of these components are slated. We can move them around to different years if that's what we need to do, but it's a staggering numbers on this sheet, and it's staggering amounts that we look out at the 10-year picture. And I see this going well beyond 10 years, but I wanted to give you guys a snapshot of where we are, things that we're looking at, things that we're thinking about, so that you guys start to think about, because a lot of these come with big price tags. So.
Any questions for John?
I do have one, actually. This is kind of related, not directly to this. How long is our bond payments for the renovation?
10 years. It was a 10-year bond, and we're in year 2 right now, and we'll be in year 3 next year.
Great. Thank you.
Well, this is mostly informational. What I'd like is to have a motion to bring this to the full board, especially when we start talking about budget implications for the 21-22 year. So do I have a motion? Bonnie, I have a second. Christie seconds. Any other discussion? Members of the committee, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. All right. Let's see, we have no public session for this evening. Okay, excellent. Our next meeting is on November 17th. And with that, I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn. I'll use that one today. Sam?
Second.
Second by Bonnie. All those in favor say aye. 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 Thank you very much.